I hope people can look at the topic I've prepared here and appreciate it. I tried to do something more thoughtful, a little bit creative, because I always feel bad when I put out a prediction for a team that's just awful. And I'm doom and gloom, and I'm like, next, your team sucks. And I think fans feel kind of punched in the gut. And I don't like doing that. I don't like giving bad news. And so in this topic, I want to preview the team, and I want to share my prediction as well. But I also want to offer a roadmap for how I could be dead wrong and how Philadelphia, in fact, could be, instead of 3-14 like I predict, a really good football team. So yeah, that is my prediction. I'll be honest, I'm not real confident in that. I look at their team, and I'm like, well, rationally, like even though I went through my process, I have this whole system. I'm like, well, I still look at their Eagles roster and go, they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of potential. They're clearly like, there's a way for this football team to be good. So I want to try to share that with you. So I guess in my chart, in my massive notebook, I'm going to stick with 3-14 as my official prediction. And the 3 games I have Philadelphia winning this year are Atlanta week 1, the Giants week 16, and then beating Washington week 17 at the end of the year. But there is a way I could be wrong, and in fact, very, very wrong, because the potential of this football team, if they can live up to it, is really high. Now, I don't normally do this, but there are so many unknowns with the Eagles roster this year where I'm like, if that goes right and that goes right. I kept saying over and over, I'm like, well, if this and if that and if this, I'm like, I should just make a topic and share all those things and kind of make it a weird prediction. So there are 5 things that I think are hanging in the balance that if they go right and turn out very, very well for Philadelphia in their favor, if those 5 things go right, Philadelphia could not only be, much better than 3-14. They could even maybe win their division title. They're definitely going to be a competitive football team. So number one, what needs to happen if Philadelphia wants to be a good football team this year, they need to have a good offensive line that stays healthy. Now, right tackle Lane Johnson struggled a lot with injuries last year. He only played in 7 games. He hurt his ankle. That was a season-ending injury for him. Hey, stuff like that cannot happen this year if Philadelphia wants to be good. Now, a couple days ago, this next sentence would have been different. Andre Dillard's a former first-round pick for Philadelphia. He was going to be the left tackle in my mind going into this year. He got hurt, was trying to recover, and they replaced him, and it was supposed to be just temporary for a brief period, maybe game 1. Jordan Mailata was supposed to be the starting left tackle. And then I woke up this morning and got some life-changing news. Jordan Mailata is signing a 4-year, $64 million extension that could be worth up to $80 million and includes $40.85 million guaranteed. Hey, the Eagles got themselves a new left tackle. I love this guy. Jordan Mailata is a former Australian rugby player who really hadn't played football before he joined the NFL. And I'm a big fan of his story. I'm a big fan of him as a person. I encourage you, if you are even like a little bit interested, look up Jordan Mailata on YouTube, his interviews. Dude is really kind, really humble, like one of my favorite human beings in the NFL. It just pours out of him. Like, this dude is an awesome guy. I'm rooting for him. So, hey, if you're an Eagles fan and you're hoping you have a good offensive line, that's good news there. They got a new left tackle, Jordan Mailata. Right guard Brandon Brooks tore his Achilles last year. He's back this year. He's another guy, though. Similar to Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks has an injury history. Now, center Jason Kelce is a stud. He is the crown jewel of this offensive line. And look, I want to be clear here. Philadelphia's offensive line, the Eagles' offensive line, has a ton of potential. They could be really good, but they have to stay healthy. Now, number 2, the Eagles added 2 players to their secondary this offseason. They brought in safety Anthony Harris from Minnesota and a corner Steven Nelson. These 2 guys have to pan out. These guys are both on 1-year deals. They are, neither to me is very impressive, Steven Nelson or Anthony Harris. There's a reason why Minnesota let go of Anthony Harris, for example. It's a big deciding factor. I'm not very confident in either guy, but if Philly wants to win and have a great year, these 2 guys, they signed 1-year contracts. Anthony Harris, Steven Nelson, they need to have a good season, and the Eagles secondary cannot be terrible. Number 3, Philly has 2 first-round receivers. They have Jalen Reagor, who was drafted 21 overall in 2020 last year. And now they have Devontae Smith, the former Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama. He was drafted earlier in 2021, number 10 overall. all. These guys have to hit. If I think it's very possible both of these guys could have really good breakout years. But if Philly wants to have a good year, then they're going to have to be fantastic. And I think it's possible. You have talent there. You got the right quarterback. And that's, we'll get into that in a minute. But deciding factor number 4, if Philly wants to have a good year this year, their new head coach, Nick Sirianni, needs to be good. I have no idea what this dude is going to do. I think he started off on a bad foot with a really bad interview. He was very nervous. But as I've paid attention more to Nick Sirianni and listened to him more, he's gotten more comfortable. He's done some stuff I like. And so I have an open mind here. I don't know how good of a head coach Nick Sirianni is. I don't really like the rumors surrounding the Eagles organization that he was brought in to be a puppet and a pawn and just do whatever the owner said. Like, that makes me feel uncomfortable. But let me tell you, by week 10, we're going to know how good of a head coach is Nick Sirianni. At least we'll know a lot more than we know today. And certainly he was good last year as a Colts offensive coordinator. And I have an open mind here. If he's a great coach, then Philadelphia's got good news and could have a good year. Now, number 5, if Philadelphia wants to have a good season, then their starting quarterback, Jalen Hurts, has to have an awesome year. He was a rookie last year. Basically, he outperformed Carson Wentz, stole the starting job. And I think that Jalen Hurts' potential is off the charts. I love the guy. I did a video a couple years ago about 3 of my favorite all-time college football players. 2 of them are on the Philadelphia Eagles. I love Jalen Hurts, his story, the way he stuck it out at Alabama before he transferred. Like, he gave everything he could and realized, I'm not going to beat out Tua, so then he transferred, right? His story, his work ethic, it's legendary. I love Jalen Hurts. I also love the backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew. I met Gardner Minshew. I was there at Washington State for his senior year. And I got to be clear, if Gardner Minshew plays, it will be because either Philly's losing really badly and they want to find out what they have, or because Jalen Hurts is playing badly. So either way, the key to the Eagles having a good year is if Gardner Minshew is playing, something went wrong, which means they're probably not winning games. So if Philly wants to have a good year, Jalen Hurts must have a good season this year. And I think he's very capable of doing that. Go watch Jalen Hurts a couple years ago, his first year at Alabama, and then go watch him a couple years later when he fills in for Tua as the backup quarterback, and then go watch when he goes to Oklahoma and transfers, and then go watch him last year at Philadelphia in the NFL as a rookie. Every year I have watched this guy, Jalen Hurts, play quarterback. He's gotten better and better and better. His work ethic is so obvious. He's clearly improving little bit by bit every season, and if he improves a little bit more this year, he could be a really good quarterback, and Philadelphia might not ever need to find out if Gardner Minshew could be their starting quarterback long term. So I go through the list, and I was looking at Philadelphia's season, doing my prediction. I'm like, well, I kept saying, if this happens, and if that happens, and if this happens, and I'm like, okay, let's just make the list of the 5 things that could happen. And if they do, that means Philadelphia will be a good football team. So here are the 5 things that need to happen, again, in case you missed it, for Philly to have a good season. Their offensive line needs to be good and needs to be healthy. If Nick Sirianni is a good coach, they're going to have a much easier time winning. And if Anthony Harris and Steven Nelson are good, and if Jalen Reagor and Devontae Smith play well, and if Jalen Hurts has a really good season as the Eagles quarterback, if all those things happen, the offensive line, the coach, the secondary, the receivers, and Jalen Hurts, if they all land and they're all really good, and the dominoes fall the right way, then Philadelphia could be a very good football team. And we'll look back on my prediction. Hey, 3-14, you're a massive idiot, Zach. And I'll say, well, I told you, though, these were the things that were going to happen if I was going to be wrong. So Philly's not hopeless. There's a chance here. Their defensive line is a weakness in Philadelphia. If Philly can't get after opposing quarterbacks and get pressure, then it's going to make things even harder on their secondary guys like Steven Nelson, Anthony Harris. So it all works together. I will say defensive tackle Fletcher Cox is still very good. He's 31 years old, but he was a Pro Bowler last year. Young tight end Dallas Goedert is really good. He was a second-round pick in 2018. He's now starting over Zach Ertz. And by the way, Philly drafted a former center, Landon Dickerson, former Alabama center, let me be clear, Landon Dickerson. He is still recovering from a torn ACL. He's ruled out for week 1. Philly got him in the second round. He's probably a first-round talent that went in the second round because he was injured. So I look at what Howie Roseman, the Eagles general manager, has done, where you get Jalen Hurts in the second round, you get Landon Dickerson in the second round. You trade for Gardner Minshew, who has potential to be a starter. You paid nothing for him. It's a good trade regardless of what happens. I don't hate Howie Roseman. I think Howie Roseman is a very shrewd decision maker who makes very smart deals. And I do wonder if Philadelphia is awful this year, if they go 3-14, like I think they have the possibility of doing. If Philly is terrible, does Howie Roseman keep his job? I'm genuinely curious because they went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They won. And since then, the coach, Doug Peterson got fired. The quarterback, Carson Wentz, got traded away. And it seems like Howie Roseman, the general manager, might be the next person on the chopping block. But I would also say, like, he won them a Super Bowl, so I would keep him around because sometimes, like, Philly went all in on their roster with veterans and bad, not great contracts to make it happen. They kept that team together. They won a Super Bowl. And then they were paying the consequences of that, having an older roster with some guys who were overpaid maybe. And I just think that you pay the price to go have a great experience to win a Super Bowl. And we saw the LA Rams go to a Super Bowl. They lost. They gave Todd Gurley a big contract, Jared Goff a big contract. If they'd won that Super Bowl, then having Jared Goff on a bad contract would have stung a lot less, right? So I think to some degree, Philly is still paying the price for having that great year, winning the Super Bowl when they did. And that's a storyline to follow, in my opinion, is could Howie Roseman get fired if things go really, really bad? Or does the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, recognize, hey, we kind of sold our future so we could win that Super Bowl a couple of years ago? I don't know, man. He's made some smart moves, got some good trades, but it's good food for thought. Is Howie Roseman's job in danger if the Eagles are really, really bad?